The General Council formally appoints Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala for a second term from 1 September 2025 to 31 August 2029. So decided.
Welcome to Africa Finance Watch, where we delve into the most pressing economic and financial matters affecting our continent. Today, we're exploring a fascinating development in global trade leadership that has significant implications for Africa: the reappointment of Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala as Director General of the World Trade Organization, WTO, and the potential challenges she may face with the incoming U.S. administration under Donald Trump. Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, a Nigerian economist with an impressive pedigree, has secured a second term as the WTO's Director General, set to begin on September 1, 2025. This reappointment is a testament to her exceptional leadership and strategic vision for the future of global trade. As the first African and the first woman to lead the WTO, Okonjo-Iweala's continued tenure is a source of pride for the continent and a beacon of hope for more inclusive global economic governance. Okonjo-Iweala's background is steeped in economic expertise. With a bachelor's degree in economics from Harvard University and a PhD in regional economics and development from MIT, she brings a wealth of knowledge to her role. Her 25-year career at the World Bank, where she rose to the position of Managing Director of Operations, further solidifies her understanding of global financial systems and development economics. For Africa, having one of its own at the helm of the WTO is significant. Okonjo-Iweala's leadership represents an opportunity for African interests to be more prominently represented in global trade discussions. Her experience as Nigeria's finance minister for 2 terms gives her unique insights into the economic challenges and opportunities facing African nations. As we look ahead to Okonjo-Iweala's second term, a significant challenge looms on the horizon: the potential return of Donald Trump to the U.S. presidency. Trump's America First trade policies and skepticism towards multilateral organizations like the WTO could set the stage for a clash of trade philosophies. Trump has promised to raise tariffs on all $3.1 trillion of U.S. imports, a move that would violate U.S. trade commitments and potentially spark global trade tensions. This approach stands in stark contrast to the WTO's mission of promoting free and fair trade through multilateral agreements and dispute resolution. It's worth noting that Trump's administration, through his trade representative Robert Lighthizer, initially tried to block Okonjo-Iweala from becoming WTO Director General. This history suggests that a Trump presidency could lead to renewed friction between the U.S. and the WTO leadership. As Africans, we have specific expectations and hopes for Okonjo-Iweala's leadership at the WTO. Let's explore some key areas where her influence could benefit the continent. Equitable COVID-19 vaccine access. African nations anticipate that Okonjo-Iweala will prioritize an inclusive and effective approach to COVID-19 vaccine distribution. This includes supporting the TRIPS waiver proposal, which would suspend intellectual property protections for vaccines and other vital drugs to enable mass production and distribution in poor countries. There is an expectation that Okonjo-Iweala will actively support the implementation of the AfCFTA, which connects 1.2 billion people across 55 countries with a combined GDP of $3.4 trillion. African countries hope she will advocate for necessary technical support from the WTO to ensure the successful implementation of this trade pact. African nations look to Okonjo-Iweala to address the issue of limited market access for their agricultural products, which is partly due to large subsidies provided by wealthy nations to their farmers. There is hope that her leadership will give momentum to initiatives aimed at mitigating this problem. African countries expect progress in the long-standing WTO negotiations around fisheries. They seek solutions to issues such as oversubsidization by wealthy nations and the encroachment on African waters, which negatively impact their fishing industries. Okonjo-Iweala's introduction of the concept of trade finance has resonated with African diplomats. There is an expectation that she will promote financial and technical support for least developed economies to export agricultural and fisheries products, advancing both trade and development. African members have raised the issue of a WTO joint action plan to support the development of cotton byproducts in poor countries. They anticipate that Okonjo-Iweala will push for urgent support in this area. There is a general expectation that Okonjo-Iweala As the first African to lead the WTO, will champion the continent's interests and create opportunities to increase trade relations with other regions. African nations anticipate that Okonjo-Iweala's leadership will focus on economic development, reducing global inequities, and reforming trade rules to counter protectionism exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic. By addressing these areas, African countries hope that Okonjo-Iweala's tenure will lead to meaningful reforms that reduce poverty, boost global trade, and make multilateral cooperation truly beneficial for the continent. Throughout this discussion, several key economic and financial concepts have emerged that are central to understanding the dynamics at play. 1. Tariffs. Taxes imposed on imported goods, often used as a tool for trade policy. 2. Subsidies. Government financial support for domestic industries, which can distort international competition. 3. Intellectual property rights. Legal protections for innovations and creations, which can impact access to vital technologies and medicines. 4. Free trade agreements. Pacts between countries to reduce trade barriers and increase economic integration. 5. Market access. The ability of a country's goods and services to enter and compete in foreign markets. 6. Trade finance. Financial instruments and products that facilitate international trade transactions. 7. Multilateralism. The practice of coordinating national policies in groups of 3 or more states, as opposed to bilateral relations. 8. Economic development. The process by which a nation improves the economic, political, and social well-being of its people. 9. GDP, gross domestic product, a measure of the total value of goods and services produced by a country. 10. Trade negotiations, discussions between countries to establish rules and agreements governing international trade. Challenges and opportunities ahead. As Okonjo-Iweala navigates her second term, she will face several challenges that could impact African economies. The WTO has been struggling with deadlocked negotiations and a paralyzed dispute resolution mechanism. Okonjo-Iweala's ability to reform these processes could determine the organization's effectiveness in promoting fair trade practices that benefit African nations. With tensions between major economic powers like the US, China, and the EU, Okonjo-Iweala must find ways to build consensus and prevent the marginalization of African interests in global trade discussions. As the global economy becomes increasingly digital, ensuring that African countries can participate fully in e-commerce and digital services trade will be crucial for the continent's economic future. Integrating environmental considerations into trade policies while supporting African countries' development needs will be a delicate balancing act for the WTO under Okonjo-Iweala's leadership. The reappointment of Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala as WTO Director General comes at a critical juncture for both the organization and African economies. Her leadership presents an unprecedented opportunity for African voices to be heard in shaping global trade policies. However, the potential return of Donald Trump to the U.S. presidency adds an element of uncertainty to the trade landscape. As we at Africa Finance Watch continue to monitor these developments, we remain cautiously optimistic about the future of African trade. Okonjo-Iweala's expertise, combined with her understanding of African economic realities, positions her uniquely to advocate for policies that can drive sustainable economic growth on the continent. The coming years will be crucial in determining whether the WTO can effectively address the challenges of the 21st century global economy, while ensuring that the benefits of international trade are more equitably distributed. For Africa, this means not only greater market access and fairer trade rules, but also support for initiatives like the AfCFTA that can unlock the continent's vast economic potential. As we conclude this video, we encourage our viewers to stay engaged with these important economic issues. The decisions made at the WTO will have real impacts on African businesses, farmers, and consumers. By understanding and participating in these global economic discussions, we can help shape a trade environment that truly works for Africa's development and prosperity. Thank you for tuning in to Africa Finance Watch. Remember to subscribe for more in-depth analysis of the economic and financial trends shaping our continent's future. Until next time, keep watching, keep learning, and keep advocating for Africa's economic interests on the world stage.